everyone. My name is Adrienne. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm going to be walking you through the editing process for that candle highlight reel that you just watched. If you're interested, I do have two other videos on my channel about creating that highlight reel. The first one is the pre-production process for a video like that, for a shoot like that. And then the second one is actually the production. And I talk about what I'm doing at the beginning and pause halfway through and talk about what's working and what I want to try next. And then I recap it at the end. So I'll have those two videos linked in the description box down below if you're interested. And of course, if you'd like to see more, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's get started editing. There's no dialogue and there's no story for a video like this. So you do have to ask yourself a couple of questions before you get started editing. The first question that I asked myself was, how long do I want this to be? I'm gonna be honest with you. The shorter, the better. With a video like this, you want it to be as short as possible. I mean, when was the last time you saw like a director's cut of a feature film that was better than the original? Unless, you know, you're like a super fan or something. Director's cuts are usually longer. They have extra information that the director feels really passionate about, but they tend to get kind of bogged down. They're not as good. I wanted this highlight reel to be in between 10 and 15 seconds. No more than 15 seconds and as close to 10 as I could get. The biggest challenge is that short videos are really hard to edit. Each cut, each decision can feel brutal. It can feel vicious because you think so many of the shots are good and so many of them are critical and important, but you've got to be ruthless and take away things that are actually really unnecessary. The second question that you need to ask yourself for a highlight reel for a product, for a video like this, is what is the vibe? And that really depends on your product. You could be filming a shoe. You could be filming a candle. You could be filming a musical instrument. Your product is really going to determine what the vibe of your video is. There are two things that will set the tone or the vibe: the music you pick and how long your cuts are. If you have really short, quick cuts that align with faster paced music, that's going to be far more upbeat. If you have longer cuts with more soothing music, it's going to feel more soothing to the viewer. So with this being a candle, I wanted it to be more on the soothing side, but I didn't want to get into like spa territory and make the viewers fall asleep. You know, I wanted them to be excited about the candle, maybe think that they want to buy the candle. For this tutorial, I have the highlight reel sequence open here, ready, just for reference for us. I also imported all of the candle footage that I took during production, and you can see that over here. How do you even start? So you have two options. You can either start with close-ups, and then each shot gets progressively wider and wider and wider until you reveal what it is, what the product is. Or you could start wide and either go in reverse or just intersperse close-up shots with your wide shots. I thought about doing that, about starting close up and going wide for a reveal. I like that. But I realized that all of my shots, because of my filming location, all of my shots are pretty much close-ups. And so that just wasn't gonna work. So I decided to, in the very first shot, I decided to just show the name of the product. And then that can work to make people excited for it. Maybe they know about this candle, maybe they've heard about it, maybe they want to try it. This one is my favorite shot with the name And so that's what I decided to use as my sort of visual hook. I just like how it's a little bit off center. I think it's visually pleasing. So you've started. You picked your first shot. Now how do you decide what even comes next? I went through all of my footage over here and I scrubbed through it and I pulled out all of my favorite shots and laid them all on the timeline. I started to lay them out and playing with them to see what I liked and what I didn't like, what worked and what didn't work. So I'll go over to this sequence here and I'll show you this. I didn't want to have shots back to back where you could see the name of the candle. I thought it was repetitive. I thought it took you out of the moment trying to read it over and over again. And I realized I didn't even want the name of the candle in every other shot. I just didn't like how it made me feel when I was watching it. I was busy reading and not getting into the mood of lighting this candle. Down here, there's a tilt and there's a pan, and they're back to back. I did not want to put sort of opposing movement like this back to back. It was far too busy, far too frenetic for a candle. A candle is supposed to set the mood and ambiance. It's relaxing. It could be romantic. It could be celebratory, but it's not supposed to be busy and active. This is where the computer paper really came in handy. You can see there, it added a sense of movement without actually tilting and panning, without actually moving the camera. And so I could put shots like that back to back without it feeling too busy. I also played with where to put these shots of the candle being lit and then the flame and then blowing it out. I just decided I wanted that to be at the end. That's kind of the reveal I could have. I started with showing the name and then I ended with actually lighting the candle. Now I'll show you over here. I did record myself with my hand on the candle and then taking the lid off. But I thought my hand just kind of looked like a giant mitt. And it just wasn't as elegant as simply showing lighting the candle and the flame flickering. Over here you can see a pop in the flame. Pop. That was just a happy coincidence that lined up with the music. It turned out to be one of my favorite moments in the highlight reel. I just laid that out on the timeline. I put the music under it. And when I played it back, it was close to a beat in the music, but not right on, not lined up perfectly. And I realized it would be a great moment. And so I lined it up perfectly. And then I made adjustments to the shots around it. It wound up being, like I said, my favorite part of the highlight reel, so it wasn't a big deal to change the other work that I had done because I thought it was worth it. And that's all from me. It really is about asking yourself 3 questions. How long do I want it to be? What's the vibe? And how do I start? And then from there, you pull your favorite shots and you play with them on the timeline and see if it evokes the feeling in you that you want it to evoke in other people. Leave a comment below and share any stories you have about the brutal choices you've had to make about what shots to keep and what shots to let go of. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. No.